Okay, so these 10-year yields have been soaring. All these treasury yields have been soaring, which is correlated to loans increasing in the rate in general. So I want to kick it over to Starwood Capital Barry, who's a lot more in tune with what's going on in the world of economics and finance. So I'm 3 balls, 2 strikes, pressure is on. This is where we discuss real estate, property improvement, and business. Together, we'll strategize on how to win. Welcome to the Full Count. I'm going to play some clips of his so we can listen to it, and then we can talk about it a little bit and break it down for everyone watching. Check him out.
Our economy was going to slow on its own. The $6 trillion of stimulus packages that were given to American consumers, they've spent it.
President Biden.
And you can see their credit card balances going through the ceiling. So we were going to slow. On top of that, he decided to really rapidly increase interest rates.
Talking about the Federal Reserve Chairman.
Stay low forever. He's doing this at a pace we've never seen before. We've never seen rates go up this fast. We could absorb slower increases this quickly after telling us that rates would be lower longer in December of 21. And then, of course, he's kept actually easing through May of 22. He was buying corporate bonds. So he pulled a very fast turn. He missed inflation when it was really there because of the lags in the federal data. Our apartment rents went up 20%. We own almost 130,000 apartments in the United States. And he didn't have that in his data. And when rents started to fall, he's now showing the rent increases that were now over a year old. So I don't agree with Larry Fink, and he knows that. I actually think rates will come down in the United States because they'll have to come down. You cannot, people who talk about Paul Volcker and say that,
this is key right here too.
Jerome Powell of Volcker, that 22% interest rates slowed inflation. Volcker didn't have a $33 trillion deficit. He had a $200 billion deficit. It didn't matter what rates were. But today, the biggest victim of the Fed increasing rates is actually the federal government that now has to pay 5% on $33 trillion of debt, not all of which rolls today. And then the second victim are our banks, the regional banks, which have...
So I want to just show you how the credit card balances have been growing. It's kind of what he was touching on right now. As we can see, during the Great Recession, they skyrocketed, then they went down. And then as we were into 2019, going into 2020, it went back up, and then COVID happened. So, people's credit card balances went down because all the stimulus. So that's kind of what he was touching on, how now it's growing back up. And what happens when it goes up, those credit card balances, usually some issue in the economy essentially happens. And then he was talking about the Federal Reserve Chairman left the Fed funds rate very low at 0% for the longest time. So during 2020, he said there was no inflation issue. And then, they were a bit late on that, and they realized, oh, shoot, there's a lot of inflation going on with all this stimulus, not only from COVID, but then when President Biden came in with an additional $6 trillion, it just went all the way up. And that's why we're seeing issues right now with mortgage rates. 10-year yield is also tied to that too. This little guy right here, this yield, this percentage is tied into the treasury bonds for the 10-year. In terms of the maturity note. And when this ticks up, that's when you see mortgage rates, a lot of it in the jumbo loan tied into it. And I know this is a lot of information, but we're going to break it down in a second. But I just want to kind of set the playing field out, because at one point we hit 5% in the 10-year yield, and that's what caused a lot of chaos. That's why we got the 8% mortgage interest rate and things like that.
I was interested to hear who he said were the biggest victims of this. I think he started saying the federal government.
I'd love for you to talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's just one more thing I want everyone to hear, which is right here from Barry.
But on the other hand, we're all trying to lower inflation. And our biggest issue in the United States, and the reason the economy remains strong, is that we have all these stimulus packages that the government has put together. The CHIPS Act, the climate bill, which is really, they put out over $100 billion in that. You have the $1 trillion construction bill, infrastructure bill, the cumulative impact of which is actually holding up the U.S. economy while private enterprise is getting a little peaked. So you have a tug of war between the federal government spending and the private sector saying, ouch, these interest rates are hurting. And it's really changing things, and it will create future inflation. Like, we're not building enough homes. Nobody will build enough homes with interest rates this high. So it's really, the Fed is hurting themselves. And I do think we've seen the top of rates in the United States. The only wild card is oil. Obviously, that's something.
So look, I think a lot of people. So we're watching this guy who's obviously really rich say these. Look, interest rates are the most boring thing in the world. if you were to bring this up on a first date, there wouldn't be a second date. That's kind of the problem, is that this stuff is all very boring. And so that's why people stay poor. But I think people that are watching might want to know, hey, look, how does this affect me? So a lot of the viewers here, they might see a video like that, and there could be a realtor, a buyer, or a seller. How can that information help them? Are we going to see a decrease in the numbers of buyers or sellers? Are there any tips we can provide them? Any kind of buyer or seller in this market? Are there any creative financing options that we can explore? How can we use this information right now to help us in the future?
Yeah, so basically there's two different opinions going on. Barry, the Starwood Capital guy, and then Larry Fink, who's in charge, I think, of Blackstone or BlackRock. I think it might be BlackRock. But in any case, they're both finance gurus, right? Billionaires. One thinks rates are going to remain high for a significant amount of time, which is Larry Fink. And then you got Barry saying eventually, very soon, rates are going to have to fall to re-stimulate the economy because of the headwind that it's getting from all these stimulus packages and the debt and the government paying on that debt, right? The interest, because it's at that 5% now rather than the 0% where the Fed funds rate was before. So the reason why that's important to buyers and sellers is the market is going to be rocky for the time being. Like last year, June 2022, till about December, we saw prices slip because of the affordability issue. At the time, rates were not too high at all last year. And then all of a sudden, they went up to 7% and prices slipped then. Now we're looking at, earlier in the year, we were around, I think, 3 or 4%, I think 4%. And then we saw now rates are at 8%. So it was very quick to go on during the year, and that hurt affordability. And buyers are now seeing the headwind of having to spend so much more on that monthly payment. And in order to meet that demand, sometimes the sellers have to, drop the price a little bit. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. And that's why that video was quite important. And I just want to make sure that kind of makes sense from the angle I'm throwing it at you guys.
Well, it sounds to me, and obviously Nick, weigh in, it sounds to me like there's not really a tip or a trick. It's, hey, it's going to be rocky for a little bit. Hold on to your butts.
Good point. I think the tip, though, I think there's a tip in there for most people is, yeah, hold on, it's going to be an issue. But what about the people that are living in oblivion saying, oh, I'm going to end up buying when the rate drops to 5% or 4%? Because there's a lot of people that think the rates are going to drop to 3% back during the pandemic era. And I think the tip there is it's probably not going to get to that point. They may drop, like Barry says, but to what extent? So it's a matter of now just finding the right moment to be able to buy in the near future, hopefully, rather than being on that wish list and never affording a home or purchasing a home for that matter.
Yeah, and just on that note, right? So, I mean, I agree with you, Andrew. I think they will drop. I don't think they'll drop as far as they were, right? Especially not as rapidly. It's going to take time.
Well, that's what Barry said.
A lot of people, yeah, right. But I think a lot of people also forget, before all of our time here, there was a time where interest rates were like 20% or something, right?
Right.
What was that, back in the 70s, 80s, right?
80s, yeah. 70s into the 80s.
70s and 80s. And people now kind of have forgotten about that, but it's a complete possibility where it can get that high again, And as
that's
far
very
as
point, yep.
Yeah. And as far as, possible tips or tricks or things that being a consumer myself, right, and a buyer, I think that if you are able to find a deal in this type of economy and with these type of interest rates, then in either case, it's going to be a deal, right? So if interest rates go up, well, you got the lower interest rate. So as long as you're making cash flow, that's all that really matters, right? Mm-hmm. If rates go down, then you could always refinance and then you're getting more cash flow. So it becomes even of a better deal. So I think it really all depends. If you do find a deal now, take it. There's no reason to wait, because if you're going to wait, maybe they'll go up, maybe they'll go down. Mm-hmm. But in either case, if it's cash flow, and that's the main thing that counts at the end of the day. And I do
if it works, it works.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as creative finance, there's always creative financing options. I mean, if I follow Pace Morby, right? And he's just one of the ones who's big on creative finance, and he's consistent. Him and everybody in his community is consistently talking about and finding deals where they do creative finance, right? And helping other people get out of situations that have put them in a financial predicament. So there's options out there.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of that, Chris? Because I think it
no,
goes to different levels too.
I will say that message sounds a lot more positive than the video we watch, which is obviously just a warning. It's identifying the problem.
It's a warning, right?
Well, it's more of a prophecy, right? And I think we've all in 2020, early 2020, I was like, should I buy a property? So worried that we're at the top of this thing, and probably should have bought at that point. Didn't buy at that point because it's so high. The market's doing so good. It's really, you see a lot of people buying at the top of a market and regretting it. But we all know 10 years, 15 years, no matter how high it is right now, you will eventually make your money.
Right.
It's like real estate, especially along the coast area, is a for sure stock that's going to go up at some point,
Right. I think, though, the elephant in the room for what he's portraying here is the problem that keeps getting kicked, like the can keeps getting kicked down the road, which is basically that the U.S. government owes all this debt. So Paul Volcker was a federal chairman back in the 80s when, like Nick was saying, those mortgage rates were very high, and so were the Fed funds rate. But he only had $200 billion in debt for the U.S. government. Now it's at $33 trillion. So that's kind of the pushback he was giving the other guy, Larry Fink, saying, well, he might think that rates are going to keep going up for so long. But Barry's point is eventually those rates have to fall to stimulate the economy, or we're going to be like in a depression scenario because the government has to pay 5% as of right now. The Fed funds is like 5.25% to 5.5%. They're going to have to pay that interest rate back on top of the debt that we currently have right now. Because over the last years, we've been surviving by only paying 0% interest rate or 1% to 2%, and now it's 5%, and it might keep growing. So that's
that's not to mention that the people in charge of the budget and have been wildly irresponsible with the money compared to how much is being brought in.
Right, and they're wildly getting rich off of this too.
Yeah. But you actually make a really good point, Andrew, because I do want to caveat or add to what I said earlier, right? So based on your point that you just made, where if all this debt to the economy, and say we do end up going into a very deep depression, and home values significantly drop, right, where people go underwater in their mortgages, then I think from an investor standpoint, at least, right, if the property is cash flowing and rents are able to stay where it's cash flowing, then you're okay. But then if you have that property value drop, right, you go underwater and rents also drop, then that's where you're in a predicament. And then for people who are buying houses for themselves, right, if you're able to buy a house, and I mean, so many people are advocates of this, don't necessarily buy liabilities, right? Or don't take on more expenses until you have cash flow to pay for those expenses, right? So I think following that rule of thumb for somebody that wants to buy their own place, right, and live in it and occupy it is still a good rule of thumb, even if we do go into a very deep depression and they go underwater. But it depends on where their cash flow is coming from, and that's another reason to diversify. So
right, and more than likely, though, I'm not trying to say that we're going to hit a depression, but some people might say that, but probably unlikely, I think. And the only reason why I think that's unlikely is because we're still the reserve currency in the world, and the fact is, or the matter is, and we'll do this on another podcast. We can talk about it a little bit, especially Chris might like this topic, which is basically to talk about the military-industrial complex, which does help our GDP. There's this guy named Andrew Bustamante that basically alluded to the fact that the reason why the U.S. economy's GDP is constantly, it doesn't necessarily go down like it technically should. It's continuing to gradually stay where it's at or go up is because of the military. When there's things going on overseas, our military contractors are constantly making that money, and therefore it spills over to our economy, jobs, things like that.
When there's war in general, dating back to World War II, we've always known war is really good for the economy. The Biden administration, whether you're pro-Biden or anti-Biden, the empirical evidence shows that our COVID response under President Biden destroyed the US economy. And most of the first world followed America's lead with our COVID response and destroyed their economies too, which is why you see massive economic collapse all across Europe, all throughout Asia, and all the countries that followed our lead. And now as a result, inflation is rampant, recession is pending. So our government, it's really important to our administration that we never formally announce a recession. We are in a recession. You feel it, I feel it, everybody watching us feels it, we know it. Our dollar doesn't go as far. It's hard to get people to go to work. Like, life is hard. We are in an economic recession. It's not like it was in 2010. But according to economics, as outlined by national institutes, we are not yet in a recession, because their definition of recession requires 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. We're not going to have negative GDP growth. Why? Because we're funding a war in Ukraine. Government spending started going into this Ukraine effort. That means the federal government started boosting military efforts. They started boosting humanitarian efforts, medical efforts, all of that government spending in an existing industry, the military industrial industry, actually inflated the GDP numbers for those productive segments of the society, of the sector, those industrial segments, right?
So that's the only reason why I don't think we'll probably go into a depression scenario.
Well, I believe he's the one who says this, but if you really do look at the military budget, you don't really hear as much back and forth during political debates anymore about it. You used to hear a lot more people say, hey, we have to decrease the military budget. The reason that no politician is going to get in office and do it is because if you reduce the military budget, you're immediately going to go into recession. Right. And because it makes up such a big part of our GDP. Yeah. So no one's going to sit in office for 3 years in a recession when they have the secret answer, which is increase the military budget.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that so much of the economy is dependent on government contracts.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it
for so many different companies and manufacturers that are here in the U.S.
And 100%. And that's why it would make sense, and it would be nice to have someone to, if they got to do what they got to do and keep the military contracts up and the military itself, the budget, fine. But while we're doing that and keeping that high, why don't we find a way to diminish other costs in the country, bring that down? Once it's down low enough, then we could start gradually bringing down the military budget or whatever it might be.
You have to have an industry to replace it with, right?
Right.
So
exactly.
whatever that would be, solar or whatever we get really good at technologically, you have to just constantly replace it. And we are subsidizing electrical vehicles and things of that nature. Maybe that's the move,
Mm-hmm. Maybe that is the move. But I wanted to also get to, Nick, prices may not drop. I think they're definitely going to drop slightly, prices, if not already. It's already kind of happening because of the 8% mortgage rates. Like it did last year of June 2022 to December, because it skyrocketed, right, for that moment, that blimp. Yeah. But the blimp is happening longer now. So therefore, the prices are probably going to start sliding a bit more because of the fact that it increased so much. But to push back a little bit, the reason why home prices probably will not fall to the extent we're thinking is home sales are down about 15% from last year, September this year to September last year, approximately. Mm-hmm. And home prices are still higher than they were in September, right? So that's one. And then to share my screen, I will show you over time.
So, for example, my parents have had their house up for sale for like the past almost 7-8 months now, and still haven't sold it. But also,
you should have hired me.
Yeah, right. You're not in Florida. But I know we're gonna get into Bates selling his house, right? The MLB player.
Bates, yeah.
And how that price has changed.
Right. No, I'd love to hear that. So going to 2017, you see the active inventory amount back then. Population was less than too, so there was less people in our age group, right? In our late 20s or early 30s, mid 30s and whatnot. there was less people that were able to afford a home, not afford. I'm sorry. Let me take it back. There was less people that were in the marketplace to buy a place.
Mhm.
And you had 1.4 million homes for sale then in 2017 of July. And now we only have 700, according to September active inventory, we have 701,000 essentially. So you still see the inventory levels of what's for sale keeps going down. And that's the problem with the affordability crisis, because there's not enough homes for sale. And like Barry was saying in that video, the builders are not going to make as much new homes available for people. So that kind of puts the pinch on prices overall.
Do home buyers, if you're moving into a new city, do home buyers have any leverage buying a house since sales are down, or does the lack of inventory counteract that to where it's still, you're just fighting, no matter if you're a buyer or a seller, you're just fighting the other person, right? You both have equal leverage, almost.
To an extent, yeah, but right now it's becoming more of a buyer's market per se. So there's more leverage on the buyer, regardless of what's kind of going on right now, especially if these rates remain significantly higher than they have been over the time. But one thing I did want to throw out there, a tip for everyone, because you had asked earlier, Nick and I were talking a little bit about some things to do, but one of the best things you can do right now when there's a high rate, you go with the 2-to-1 buy down. Now, I'm not a mortgage lender, so I don't want to be telling you exactly how this works, but the way it works to some extent, but talk to your person, is 2-to-1 buy down. Right now, the mortgage rate is at 8%. If you take the 2-to-1 buy down, you pay a fee to the lender, probably anywhere $20,000 to $25,000 worth. You could ask the seller if they're willing to go in the middle for you and pay for half of it. You pay for the other half and pay the lender the fee for the 2-to-1 buy down, where that 8% you now are at a 6% mortgage interest rate for the first year. The second year, you're now at a 5%. And then the third year, you go back to the 8%. Make sense? So that helps you for the first 2 years just to get in. And then during that time period, you can always refinance if the rates are way lower. Let's say it goes back to 4%.
Right.
Yeah. And you get a cheaper house potentially if the market slips a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Let's talk about our boy Mickey Mantle, how you can own a piece of his property. I think that would be really cool of an idea to do.
Yeah, so on Friday, fans of the most beloved Yankee of all time purchased a piece of Mantle's childhood home for just $7 per share. And I looked earlier today, and they've all been sold. And it's actually a really cool investment. The reason I looked is because I was going to buy a share, and it was completely sold out, right? But
yeah, I tried the same thing 2 days ago. Yeah. Should have done it earlier.
There was 47,000 shares, $7 per share. So they made $329,000. But 2,000 of the shares were given to the residents of the community. And what's really interesting is that shareholders will be able to vote on any changes to the properties. And if these changes bring in a profit, the shareholders will receive dividends. And so I like that concept a lot. And it makes you think, is this going to set a trend? And you know, we talked last episode about an increase of property value after a celebrity has lived there. Yep. This post-celeb property investment, is this the future? Are we going to see Donald Trump leave Mar-a-Lago, and then all of a sudden the MAGA supporters are paying $7 and it's a lot of money?
I could definitely see that. I mean, there's already companies that do that with Airbnbs. Like I bought a number of different shares for different rental opportunity or different rental properties that are owned by this company, and you just get dividends from it.
Yeah. They purchased it for $175K in 2022, right? So they made $329K. So they basically doubled the value.
Yeah.
By doing it this way.
Okay, got it. Then my next question would be then, in terms of the shares that you get, however many shares, let's say the roof falls in, right? Does everyone have to now pay for the roof according to the percentage of their share of their home, or how does that work? If by chance you happen to know.
No, man, that's a great question. I think that whenever they're voting on what we're going to do with the property, one of the things that was proposed was, like, for example, putting a baseball diamond in the front yard and letting Little League play there and bringing in some sort of revenue that way. But that would be something they would vote on, is how are we going to take care of the maintenance, like an HOA almost is what.
It's like an HOA,
happen. Yeah, right. Yeah. Do you turn it into a museum and then, you know, people have to pay $5, or is it just donations? There's a lot of things you could do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Or people can get married in front of Mickey Mantle's childhood house. I mean, that itself would be $10,000 or $15,000 per, wedding. You know,
I can see one of you guys do that. That'd be cool.
you guys are the Yankees fans. I would do it at Tony Gwynn's house, but
I think Nick's gonna do it then. Maybe we should put him up for
I would
it.
do it.
Give that opportunity.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really cool story. It'd be cool to see if it continues to compound to other famous people and their properties.
Well, like I said, like I immediately when I was reading about it went to go pay for it. So I would encourage this to happen again. You know, like think about Jim Morrison, wherever he grew up. There's got to be a lot of people that people view in iconic status, like Kurt Cobain's apartment, although it's probably part of a apartment complex, right? But things of that nature, you know.
Right.
I mean, they could also make it into a museum too. Start putting, Mickey Mantle's memorabilia in there.
At the very least.
Yeah.
At the very least. So I'm joining you with a drink. So there we go.
Hey, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What are you drinking?
Straight vodka.
Are you sober October?
I think he's always sober
forever.
Every day.
No, I actually just went to one of the vineyards, one of my favorite vineyards outside Boston here, Neshoba Winery, and got like 8-9 bottles of wine because I'm moving. So I'm gonna
Where are you
take
moving to?
some back. What?
What part of America are you moving to?
Florida, Tampa.
Damn. So you're one of the Florida immigrants.
The snow.
Obviously, Florida's winning the immigrant race right now.
Yeah, it is. It's a question now whether Nick is going to follow a line with the politics of Florida or if he's going to bring his politics with him.
No, Nick is trying to get Charlie, what's his name? Kirst elected. Is that his name? Kirst?
Who's that?
No, hell no. No.
Who's Charlie Kirk?
No.
Whoever the Democrat
is. The governor?
Oh, not Charlie Kirk. I have no idea who you guys are talking about.
It's Mark.
I forget his name. Charlie Crist or something like that.
Yeah.
He's the Ron DeSantis.
Governor of Florida.
He's Ron DeSantis' competition out there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing I have prepared, I don't know if anybody else has anything prepared, but I have the Edwin Castro Powerball winner who's buying mansions left and right out there.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
So we got Edwin Castro. He's 31 years old. He won the $2 billion Powerball jackpot. He's making headlines again for his lavish spending. He has just purchased his third mansion in LA, this time for a cool $47 million. So he bought one in your neck of the woods, Andrew, Bel Air. It's 7 bedrooms, 11 bathrooms, and over 16,000 square feet of living space. It also has an infinity pool, spa, movie theater, and wine cellar. His other 2 mansions are located in the Hollywood Hills and Altadena, which is where he's from, by the way.
Okay.
The Hollywood Hills mansion cost $25.5 million, while the Altadena mansion cost a humble $4 million. So his purchase of these 3 mansions in such a short period of time has raised some questions about his financial planning. Some experts have warned that he's spending too much money too quickly and could risk going broke in the future. He walked away with $600 million because he took the payout, and obviously California is going to tax the hell out of him. So he took like $600 million, and so he spent about $100 million of it already on property, probably not including property taxes. So my question is, and this is questions that we all think of whenever we're buying a lottery ticket, is they say it's usually unwise to hire friends or family, but in a windfall like this, is it smart to have people you can trust working for you to help invest your capital so that it will continue to grow while still allowing you the freedom to enjoy your winnings? Like I've fantasized about the idea of I win the Powerball. Right. My cousin, who's an accountant, he's watching my money. I got my sister responding to, basically my PR rep. I got my cousin. He's got a bunch of guns. He's running my security. That's my fantasy when I buy a Powerball ticket. What do you guys think about that?
If they're good at what they do, then, and you could trust them, I think that's all that matters.
Because you're gonna have a lot of people knocking on your door saying, "Hey, I heard you just won." In California, you can't be a private winner, right?
Right.
So you're gonna have people knocking on your door saying, "Hey, I can help you manage all this money. You know, we'll triple it in 3 years." But you want people around you that you know and trust that you know wouldn't want to see you fail. I think in this situation, or you just delete all your friends and live your life on an island. You know what I mean? That's like the two options, in my opinion.
Wait, so I can't get over how much the state of California took in taxes at $1.4 billion in taxes. That's absurd. But
well, you know,
California for you.
Yeah, I know.
And 80% of it goes to public schools, by the way.
88.
Okay. That's good.
80% of it goes to public schools. The rest of the 20% is majority community college.
I'm curious how much goes to the administrators, not the school itself.
Yeah,
right.
I
mean, the college isn't going to get better. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But to answer, well, Nick, whatever you're going to bring it up, but make sure to answer Chris's question.
I am.
Okay.
But right before we get there, did it say, Chris, what he's doing with all these properties? Is he just buying them to like live in each one of them, or is he planning on doing something else?
Well, I mean, he hasn't really spoken a lot about what he's doing, but he did say he's confident in his ability to manage his money and that he's enjoying his new lifestyle. But I think the question is he making good financial choices by investing in property? But I think a lot of people could argue, you know, you've always heard the phrase, you never want to buy the most expensive house in the neighborhood.
Yeah, right.
For obvious reasons, right? Because you're always going to be the top of the valuation. You're not going to be able, if you want to be kind of in the middle or even the bottom of the valuation realistically, so you can go up with everybody else.
Can I make a note, because I know those three areas pretty well? Altadena, you said was one. Hollywood Hills, I remember those prices. But what was the price of the Bel Air property?
The Bel Air was 47 mil.
Okay, so already off the bat, not saying this is a good decision he made, but already off the bat, Bel Air, he's still definitely not the most expensive home there, because they're hitting 100.
I just been in the neighborhood though. In the neighborhood, I believe he is, like in his actual neighborhood. I believe I read that it is the most expensive house
in the Bel Air neighborhood, and
where he is.
Okay. Hollywood Hills, 25 million. That's still a lot, but there's more. But that's good to note about Bel Air. Altadena, if anything, 4 million. I feel like they're a little bit less than that, but I think the real concern here is he needs to put 2 and 2 together and put the math together. Property taxes is going to be so expensive for those houses. Every year he's got to pay that no matter what. And it's not like he can write that all off.
And upkeep of the property, right?
And the upkeep. Yeah. So I don't see how this guy, I don't know if that's the best decision right away. He should have bought like apartment buildings first, or maybe one beautiful house and then other real estate in different parts of the country. So you're not just all set in California, in Los Angeles County for that matter.
Well, that was
what I was going to say.
That was my second question, was if this was a close family member of yours, what advice would you give them, like right now at this moment? They've already bought the property. Say, what advice do you have?
Yeah, I'd say buy yourself a $20 million home, maybe $30 million if you really think you need it, right?
Wait, I don't think he needs to go buying any more properties, though. That's bad advice, Andrew.
No. But my advice is this from the get-go. Buy one beautiful home if you really need it, want it. Then buy apartment buildings in other states, and then the rest, save that money until you get more knowledgeable and know what the heck you're doing. So don't buy too much real estate. Maybe buy a couple, and then learn finance, go to school maybe to grow that money. Just because you may not know what you're doing in the next couple of years, that money will run out rapidly. That would be my advice.
Right now, should he go get a refund on 2 of his properties?
Yes.
I don't think he can.
He should sell them, though. He should sell them 100%. And
call me, and I will sell them for you.
Call
me, I'll sell them for you, and I will introduce you to my sphere of people that could probably help him with his accounting, CPAs, financial advisors. I can do it all for you. I can introduce you.
By the way, Edwin Castro, we just want to tell you much love. We respect the win. You're welcome on the podcast anytime.
Anytime.
Your name.
Anytime, Edwin.
Yeah, we want to
pick your brain about where your thought process is.
Exactly. Did you buy jet skis first or after? There's a very good Tosh.0 joke where he says, People who say money doesn't buy happiness. Have you ever seen someone sad on a jet ski?
True.
That's true.
Money does do some wonders for people. So there you go. Cool story.
Right.
Let's do it.
Mookie Betts, let's talk about it.
I'm smoking those Davidoff cigars that we got at your birthday celebration from Ramsey. Oh, what you got
Ramsey,
there?
I got his cigar here too.
You're bringing out the
Can you
big
see
gun.
this?
Yep. Tequila. Perfect.
Tequila?
Can you,
Okay.
I'm sipping
Can
on
you
that
see what I'm
Buchanan's
sharing?
Deluxe.
There you go. Buchanan's Deluxe.
Oh, hey, by the way, I got something to show you guys. You ready? All
no,
right,
wait,
so
I'm not looking. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen. Do you guys see this
Oh,
right
okay.
here?
What is that?
What is
So
that?
this is from North Korea. This is North Korean whiskey.
You're lying, dude.
No, I'm serious. Look at it.
How the hell did you get that? Why would you want that?
You know, it's a Navy thing, but over on the DMZ they sell this sort of thing. And I'm going to tell you right now, though, I've tried it one time, and it tastes like something that came from North Korea.
Tastes like garbage, huh?
This might be North Korean water for all I know.
Oh, you're gonna get sick.
Yeah.
No,
Can you even have that? Are you even allowed to have that bottle though? Is it like
Why not?
Tell them to come get me. But it's
Yeah.
basically, it tastes like a little grape whiskey, like a grape juice drink.
oh,
Interesting. Kind of
But it's a good conversation piece, you know?
it is a great conversation piece. I'm all about that bottle. It looks pretty
Yeah.
cool. Not about North Korea, but it's a cool bottle for sure.
Well, it's communism in a drink.
Yeah, there you go.
It's garbage then. It's a bunch of shit.
Piss water. Oh, I guess to give everybody a rundown on what's going on. So he, after his last World Series championship with the Boston Red Sox, he was
Mhm.
drafted to the LA Dodgers, right? And this was back in 2020. And when he moved to LA, he bought a house that is 9,400 square feet, just a little over.
Mhm.
But back in February of this year, he put it up for sale for just under 10 million, right? And it was on the market, didn't sell, so he took it off the market in May. And now, like we were talking about before, with home prices going down, he actually put it back on the market for just under 8 mil. It was like 7.6 million, right?
Oh, what a difference of
Oh no, that's how
price.
much he purchased it for in 2020. He put it up for, where is it? It was 7.9. Yes. Where might have been there.
So just to backtrack real quick. He bought it in 2020 for how much?
He bought it in October of 2020 for 7.6 million.
Okay, and then he put it back. He put it on the market earlier this year for just under 10 million.
For just under 10 million, right?
I wonder why he even.
And now it's back
bought it
on the
and not
market.
selling.
He put it back up for 8.5 million, so he dropped it by 1.5 million. And it has movie theater, infinity pool, I think like 10 plus bedrooms. So it's a huge house. And it's nice.
So he bought it for 7.6 million in 2020. Then he put it on the market in 2023 for under 10 million. Now he has it on the market for how much? Mookie Betts?
Now he has it on the market for just under 8.5.
He has it on the market just under 8.5. Okay.
It sounds like one of those situations where he should have put auctions of shares on the market.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Chris, what do you think is the reason why he put it on the market? Do you think he's getting traded? Because that was kind of rumored that he might leave the Dodgers.
It's really hard to speculate. I mean, that could be what he could be testing the market, just like baseball players test the market in free agency, right? It could be a sign to Dodgers, hey, he's considering leaving. It could be a lot of things. It could be he spent too much money on things. And
good strategy.
You know?
Right.
But he signed a contract that he's still in.
So it's
when
an
he
indication
came
of
to
a
the
trade,
Dodgers in 2020. I think it was a 10-year contract. So he has that. I mean, that can be broken. But I saw some articles saying that he was selling it because he wanted to reap on the renovations that he did to it. So,
okay. So,
Okay. Interesting.
Andrew, do you have any questions on that one? Otherwise, I'm going to go into the biggest baseball news there is.
In terms of no Mookie Betts, it looks like we'll have to see if he gets to sell it. He probably should have held the real estate a little bit longer, but when you're making all that money, what's to say you can blow some money, right? All right. It's probably better than buying those big old pieces of jewelry that some other famous people buy. So let's go ahead and go into the World Series. So much going on. They're 1-1, I think, right? Diamondbacks and the Rangers.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. All right. So first, I want to talk about the pitch by George W. Bush. Okay. And the reason I want to talk about this is because on October 1st, 2001, which we all know is within a month of 9/11, George W. threw a pitch. The Washington Nationals game, right?
Right.
And Derek Jeter gave him some advice. He's basically like, you better throw it from the mound or no one will respect you at all.
Right.
And he went, and the crowd's cheering, and there's never been a moment in my lifetime where Democrats and Republicans didn't care about red or blue more than that moment right there. Was within a month of 9/11, right? And the crowd was going wild. George W. Bush, we know it's going to be short-lived, but at that moment, he was on top of the world. He was being the commander-in-chief, and he threw a strike down home plate. And
beautiful pitch.
And just the world was on fire. And, we all know that everybody lost a lot of love for George W. over the years. But I will tell you that game 1 of this World Series, that moment, there was a capsule in time. Derek Jeter, once again, talking to George W.
You're throwing out the first pitch today. You're no stranger to the first pitch.
I remember you well.
Yeah, and tell us how your feelings were back then as compared to now.
Well, back then, totally different environment. I'm loosening up. In comes the Yankee captain. Hey, Press. That was you. And I said, yeah. He said, you're going to throw from the mound? I said, what do you think? I would. And then as you left, you said, don't bounce it, they'll boo you.
Well, I tell you what,
all I thought about on the mound was you.
I tell you what, you're going to throw from the mound tonight?
No.
Well, this is Texas, so if you bounce it, they won't boo you.
No.
Good luck.
It doesn't matter.
And George W. goes out on the field, and there's chants at the Ranger Stadium of USA, USA. And it was a flashback of that moment where politics didn't matter. We're one country. And he didn't stand at the top of the mound. He stood at the front of the mound, but the ball made it to home plate, which is better than 50 Cent could say. And it was just a good moment because it reminded you, that there was still love for our country as a unity. And it was powerful to me. But talk about the whole World Series, there's a lot of complaints about how the Diamondbacks shouldn't be here. And, it's kind of like we got the B squad almost here because in 2019, they expanded the playoffs to where 40% of the Major League Baseball is going to be playing in the playoffs, right? But at the bottom line is like if the Diamondbacks can get here, then they've earned it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe these other teams aren't that great after all. And now we're tied 1-1 in the World Series after the Diamondbacks won game 2, 9-1 yesterday. And what was interesting is Merrill Kelly.
Wait. Sorry, 9-1.
Yeah. So Merrill
I didn't
Kelly.
watch the game. 9-1, dude. That's fucking crazy.
Well, and the first game was close. It was 6-5. It was a walk-off home run.
That was beautiful.
By the Rangers. But this game, Merrill Kelly pitched 7 strong innings. I mean, he willed this game. If you watch the game, this guy was the life and blood of the Diamondbacks. You could say single-handedly willed the game. Obviously, there was some great hitting, but this game comes down to, the Rangers have a lot of depth on offense. Not great pitching going on from the Rangers side, but the problem is that the Diamondbacks have small depth on pitching. So can they just kick Nick off this thing? But can the Diamondbacks last, 7 series? If so, it's coming down to a game 7 if they win. So it's interesting.
I really hope it does kind of go to game 7. That would be like ideal.
Situation. my question for you guys is, what are your thoughts on the MLB allowing more teams in the playoffs?
I think ideally actually I'm still a little indifferent on how I feel about the playoffs for having more teams participate on there. I really don't know. I don't have an opinion on that. I could see the opinion on some side though, upset that the Diamondbacks are in there, because if it wasn't for that, they wouldn't be there. So it could have been someone else. But I don't think I have an opinion as of right now. I couldn't make the decision for that. What do you think though, Chris?
Well, I'd say that it's possible that it makes, regular season games in the MLB are already kind of inconsequential. It makes it more inconsequential. But as a Padres fan, I welcome more opportunities to get to the playoffs because we're going to fucking need it. You know?
There you
We're
go.
gonna
That
fucking
makes
need
sense.
it, right? So
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been like that for so long. To really make a change to it now would be
look, MLB needs to do something. I don't know
They're
if
changing a
has
lot.
to do with the
yeah,
playoffs.
they've been changing.
Maybe they got to do like less games in the regular season to improve, the quality of the games.
Yeah, that could be an idea.
I think they've already improved the game a lot by making it quicker for the batter to be at the box and hit the ball or get off type of thing. So
The only
I
problem
think
with
they need
that
to be
is
gradual.
everybody's kind of used to being able to show up late as hell to a baseball game. Now you show up, it's the sixth inning.
Yeah, right.
True. But can we talk about the first game? Corey Seager hit that home run that got him back into the game.
Tie it with one swing. High drive! It's tied!
And it was a beautiful hit because you could see as soon as he hit the ball, there was so much joy in his face and everybody was cheering. I wanted to ask you this though. Adolis Garcia is a killer, right? He is constantly making home runs, a very confident guy. Like nobody can say that he's not confident. But there's times when he hits the ball and he just stares at it and he watches it and is on the cocky side almost. And he just walks for a moment and then he starts running. My question to you is, do you think that's cool to do that? And then the other question is, I didn't get to watch the game too. Did he strike out a lot or did he actually get on base when he was going up against the Diamondbacks pitcher?
Well, ego is only cool when you're winning, and they didn't win yesterday. So, you got it's muddy waters there. But basically, there was 9 strikeouts from Merrill, and I believe there was 3 or 4 more from the closing pitcher. There wasn't a lot of hitting on the Dodgers side. I don't know the answer to your specific question, but
you mean on the Rangers side?
Yeah, but on the Rangers were just not pitching well. Montgomery led pitching, open pitching. Eventually, they pulled him out, and it got better for them. Actually, can't even say that because most of the points were not scored on Montgomery. It was subsequently. But yeah, this came down to one team was pitching good, one team was not pitching good. That's really what it came down to. And that really sucks whenever you're the Rangers because your offense is what you have to rely on. And if the other team is pitching too good for you, you're not going to win that game. I don't know what to tell you. Try again next time. But we all know in the World Series, you got to win one away, and the Diamondbacks just secured that victory. So, Rangers will probably get one over there in Arizona. I got something to add to this conversation, right? Because it's not opening up for me, but here we go. All right. Okay. So in the beginning of the playoffs, this is the ranking from Bleacher Report for the pitchers. All right. For a pitching lineup. Number 12, Texas Rangers. Number 11, the Miami Marlins. And number 10, the Arizona Diamondbacks. So the bottom line is we're not going to have good pitching here. This isn't going to be the best pitching in the league, right? So it's really interesting because if you've ever played softball in an adult league where we don't know how to play baseball at all, it makes the game a lot more fun. And I'm wondering if this World Series is going to be a lot of fun as we go into it because it's not the best pitching.
From the Diamondback side, right?
No, the Rangers were ranked 12 by Bleacher Report, like worst pitching lineup in the whole
the
playoffs,
Rangers.
right? And
Right.
Diamondbacks were 10. So not that much better because they don't have depth. They have like 2 good pitchers. So are we going to see fun baseball because it's not the best in the world?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it would be a matter of finding out what's going to happen next. But I think the personalities on the Rangers, the guys on the team like Adolis Garcia and the others, I think the personality of the players helps a lot, get the game exciting and things like that. So as long as they keep making home runs every now and then and getting to that point, I think it could be a good game, unless you think I'm wrong.
I feel like you're pretending that the Texas Rangers are the Republicans and the Diamondbacks are the Democrats. I feel like that's
Yeah,
how
right.
you view this game. And
No, I like Corey Seager a
clouding your
lot and
judgment.
Adolis Garcia. What are you talking about?
It's clouding your judgment. You think this is a political battle happening in front of us.
I mean, I'm always indifferent, or at least I try to be. But the Diamondbacks are more red, right? And the Rangers are blue. So kind of goes against what you're saying there.
Oh, colors.
Well, I mean, look, both of you
Well,
guys have been known to like more than one baseball team. I'm very loyal to the Padres. I don't like more than one team. So I can see, I view this really indifferently. I can see the Diamondbacks and the Rangers and kind of call it for what it is. But I'm afraid one of you guys might become a Diamondbacks or a Rangers fan after this because
I think that'll be Nick.
You guys are both fans of the Yankees. One of you is also a fan of the Angels. The other one's kind of leaning to Red Sox. I mean, what's going on here?
Okay, but let's just be clear though. The fact that a Yankee player could be on the side of a Boston Red Sox fan too.
Babe Ruth.
It doesn't matter though, man.
Right.
Come on, the culture's there. Exactly. You gotta be constantly against the Red Sox.
Andrew, you look like a Dodgers fan.
But I'm definitely not a Dodger fan.
I know you're not. I'm just saying, if someone had to profile you, they would think you were a Dodgers fan. I'm just saying.
Because I'm Latino.
I mean,
in
I
LA.
didn't go there. That might be part of the reason, though.
No,
the Dodgers were Brooklyn, right? If the Dodgers were originally Brooklyn, so
yeah. Hey, look, guys, it was another. This is probably our best podcast together yet. I really liked it, and let's do it again next week.
I agree. I think we just need to have Nick improve his camera a little bit. Here and there, we have to get him out, give him a little break.
Both of you. You guys both need a little bandwidth.
You're blurry on my end, Andrew. You've been blurry this entire time on my end.
You guys both need bandwidth in your life.
I think we do. Well, this was a good one, guys. And,
Edwin Castro, hit us up. We want to talk to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We want to talk to you. We want to interview you, and then we want you to use me as your realtor, of course. And then Nick can give you advice on, being an investor of some sort.
And I'll help you spend your money.
Exactly. Yeah. If you like this episode, please give us a like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with your friends. Excel under pressure is what it's all about in life. And we want to go ahead and collaborate with you so we can all work together and win together. Thank you.